Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. As ever, I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hi, guys.
Evening.
Hello.
It's a Reacto pod. I should have been a bit more, joyous, enthusiastic, perhaps.
Reactive,
yeah, Reacto pod. Listen, I should be. We've just we get the opportunity to talk about a nice, comfortable 3-0 home win, which doesn't happen too often.
Yay.
So look. It was a routine as they come home win against a team we expected to beat comfortably, and it transpired as such. A couple of shaky moments in the first half, perhaps, but of our own doing. Nothing beyond that, really. So a job well done. But just to rewind a little bit to the team selection, I mean, there were cheers of celebration and clenched fists when the team was announced, and you know who wasn't at right back. Shock horror. Do you think Arteta was listening to us?
No.
yeah.
So look, we had Timber at right back. We had Kivior come in, which always screamed at me as being the most obvious replacement, best fit for a Saliba absence. And Kivior playing as a right centre-back as opposed to a left one. And Zinchenko came in for Lewis Skelly. Now, I didn't pick Lewis Skelly to start the game, but I was resting him. But as it turns out, he's possibly picked up a knock, either in the Villa game or in training. Maybe that will come out in the wash tomorrow. Jorginho in midfield, Rice, Ødegaard and Martinelli, Havertz, and then Sterling got a start against in place of, well, I guess in place of Trossard, but Martinelli on the right, Trossard on the left. What do you think? What do you guys think of the team selection, Steph?
I thought it was fine in the circumstances, and like you say, of all the games around this period to highlight and try out Kivior in the back line, this was definitely the one. And then watching the game, I thought the defence did seem to have a bit more balance. I just noticed Timber snapping into tackles higher up the pitch, which is just way more effective in that sense. And obviously going to be disappointed to hear about Skelly picking up a knock, and then that's balanced by Nwaneri then coming on in the game. It's like, you know, we can't take one step forward without two steps back, but, you know, signs of life.
Yeah, what did you think about the team selection then, Chris? I mean, was it an hallelujah at last?
Well, it was. Yeah, I think I did laugh when you sort of replied. You know,
don't repeat what I said.
Expletives, but yeah, it was what we were all crying out for, and we got it. And yeah, Steph, I think it did help having that, just more front-footedness from the fullbacks that we don't get with Partey. Really, not his fault. It's just, you know, the nature of his sort of profile. I really wanted Sterling to have a good game. And, you know, it was a great opportunity for him playing against a, you know, with all due respect, a pretty average side. And he really didn't, he just didn't produce the goods again, you know, pretty flat. He just wanted something to happen for him. The only thing that occurred to me, where in those moments where it almost looked too comfortable, where we did sort of put our foot on it and hesitate in those defensive lapses, is they're the sort of moments that lead to injuries, you know, where you haven't quite got the focus, and sometimes like a pass is too short and you invite a 50-50 challenge or whatever. That was my only concern during those dodgy periods, was like someone's going to overstretch and there'll be another hammy or something. But thankfully that didn't happen. It
didn't look like we picked up any injuries, did it? But
Gabriel took a wallop to the knee, but that was about it.
Yeah, Sterling, I was pleased that he started, to be fair, because it suits all of us if Sterling finds a bit of form, but unfortunately he didn't. Someone who did find a bit of form, or continues maybe a bit of form, I thought was Martinelli. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was very lively. Got an assist and got a pre-assist, the cutback for Havertz's little cushion touch, which was beautiful actually. That for Rice with his goal after 2 minutes. I wasn't listening to the commentary till about 35 minutes. Did the commentator say anything about the last Arsenal player to score a quick Champions League goal? Or did they say who was the last? So Rice's goal after 2 minutes was our quickest goal in the Champions League since. Did they say that on the commentary? Because I've got a question for you.
I've got a feeling you're going to tell us.
I've got a question for you. They didn't. So, right, you will not get this. Well, if you do, you've Googled it, and I don't care if I can see you.
I think I know.
Okay.
Because if you're talking about quickest goal in the Champions League...
Since 2014 against Dortmund.
Oh, then I definitely know.
72 seconds.
Yep.
I had no idea this guy... Yeah.
Yaya Sanogo.
Yaya Sanogo.
Really?
Yes.
I only know that because for that Dortmund game, there was a reason why. So I'm in the North Bank, but a few of my pals are sort of clock end. And I can't remember if it was an issue on the gates with tickets or whether they just got there late from the pub or whatever, but they missed the goal. And I don't know, that's stuck in the head as being a thing. You missed Yaya Sanogo score a Champions League goal after however long it was.
Was it a qualifier or a group game?
A group game, I think. Group game.
I've no idea.
Yeah, Yaya Sanogo.
It came up on the BBC live feed, which I was following. I mean, the BBC live feed's great because it tells you everything that's happened 5 minutes ago. It's not quite the most up to date feed, but that stat did come up, which I thought was.
You're better off checking CFAX.
Can you explain that to the younger watchers?
Is that?
Yeah.
Does that still exist?
They only took it offline a few years ago, though. It was still there, sort of clinging on by its fingernails.
Listen, it's. I used to follow the Arsenal scores in Ireland. I used to follow them on CFAX.
Refresh.
Yeah, refresh. Yeah.
Page 302.
Live, 302, 303, one of those. Yeah.
Oh, the good old days.
Join us after the break when we'll be.
Yeah.
We'll start talking about Club Call next.
The Rubik's Cube, and then I've got a story about Club Call, but we'll leave that for another day. Arsenal's Club Call, not any other Club Call.
Well, they keep you on the line for ages.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll save it. Maybe for a non-video one, to hide my shame in audio. So look, we've got one game left away to Girona. We're currently sitting third, 16 points, a plus 12 goal difference, and that's significant because we're still within reach, points-wise, of the team sitting in 13th. So there's still 5 teams below the cut-off who can, in theory, catch us on points, but none of those are anywhere near us in terms of goal difference. We're plus 12. The highest one there is Villa, who are plus 5. So there'd have to be a big swing. Now, I know, Steph, you've done a bit of research into this, haven't you?
Well, only in the sense that I just sort of had a look at the fixtures for next week as well. There are a couple of teams, I forget which two, on those 13 points that are playing each other. So clearly, obviously, one of those can't make it as well, which reduces the number again. There are a couple of those teams that are playing teams in the bottom, is it 6 or 8? I can't remember. So you assume that they are probably going to get the win. And then there's also one or two of those teams that are below us who are playing teams in that top kind of bracket as well. So it would be...
Yeah.
It would be the worst.
Like a 5% chance. 5%
and we've got to lose
to
Girona, who are a team who are out. I mean, they cannot qualify for the playoffs. They are simply out. So I don't know what their state is. I'm not sure they're doing amazing in La Liga this year. They were a bit of a surprise outfit last time out. And so, they're presumably going to rest players and focus on their league. Can I say
that Girona are 31st in the table, but only 6 places behind Man City?
Oh, here we go. We did well. What was that? Nearly 10 minutes without mentioning the fact that Man City blew a 2-goal lead.
2-0 up.
again away at PSG to lose 4-2.
How's that song go? 2-0 up, and you.
Yep. And so, I mean, they can still qualify, but they have to beat Bruges and hope other results go their way. Bruges, who are above them on 11 points.
And Bruges themselves, Bruges know that a draw is enough for them.
A draw is enough. Oh.
So what it does mean, it means, because it's next week, and so that they have to go full strength in that, and it'll be a high pressure game before they come to our place at the weekend. So I'm glad there's something on it, because you could have looked at those fixtures back in September and thought, wow, well, City will have qualified by the time they get to the last game. But oh no. And I'm a Bayern Munich weren't particularly strong, but they lost to Feyenoord this evening. And PSG, if PSG and City had drawn, PSG were outside the top 24 and City were just creeping into the top 24. It's a bizarre... I mean, we're all still getting used to this new format, but I mean, there's how many games next week? Is it 18? At the same time?
It's going to be chaos.
How many screens can you fit onto one? How many mini screens can you fit onto one screen? You know?
How many mini radios do you have to be listening to all at once?
So how do we feel about the Champions League then? Well, it's been a nice kind of reprieve from the league almost, hasn't it? It's been a release.
The thing that I particularly like is the fact that we've only conceded 2 goals across all the fixtures, one of which was a consolation goal for Sporting when we demolished them 5-1 away, and the goal against Inter was, what we all
penalty.
Agree is an incredibly soft handball decision given against us as well. So, we definitely do have that solidity. Do we have enough to break down the better teams when we get into the latter stages? Who knows? But I don't know. It's been pretty good.
No, I think today, not just Martinelli. Chris, who else stood out for you in terms of performance today, this evening?
I thought Rice had a good game. I know he should have buried that header, but
so
just
he.
The athleticism again. Sorry?
So did he. His post-match, that's all he was talking about.
Yeah, he was gutted. But yeah, he was all over the place. The athleticism, I think, he really exploited them. They didn't look anywhere near his standard.
Okay, I've got a question for you then on Rice himself. Where do you think his best position is? Because he played in front of Jorginho. And I hear everybody saying they much rather Rice as a 6, Rice in front of the back 2. I kind of hear more people say that than... I know he's box to box, but for me, he's got that dynamism. He's got that threat, that goal threat as well. I mean, he missed a really clear-cut header. I can't remember, was it against Spurs?
United.
Was it United? Was it? And he should have scored that, and he should have scored the header today. But keep getting those positions, and he'll score more and more goals. It's the one thing he really needs to add to his game.
That's exactly what he said. Yeah.
So where, Chris? So where do you see him? I mean, is he a 6 or an 8?
Well, you've seen him do well in both positions, and I mean, it's not probably the answer you want, but I do think it depends as well on the opposition, and that you can. So if you want more solidity and you want to play more of a kind of a partnership, a 2, then you can do that with him, or you can stick him as a lone 6. I just think it depends on the opposition, but he's so good. It's a flip of a coin for me.
Where do you sit on this, Steph?
For me, I think I will always see him as more of a 6, but I do revel in the nice problem to have, because he's also shown that he can be really quite excellent in that slightly more advanced position. So I think there is a long-term thing that it looks like Partey will probably leave in the summer, and therefore Rice and another. Whether that's
Zubimendi.
Well, presumably so. I mean, these verbal agreements aren't really,
especially
with
him,
they're not written on. Basically, is essentially the problem there. But yes, so him and another can again dovetail, like Chris says, depend on the opposition. He's a great stopper, but I think the thing I really liked this evening, yes, he's getting in those positions, but it's also his driving runs. He is that player that I've longed for a long time, that can grab a game by the scruff of its neck, because he will try and be proactive rather than reactive in certain things, whether it's his passing, trying to make things happening, whether it's his running with the ball, or trying to come up from deep, like you say, box to box. He's an action player rather than someone who's just thinking about the system. He fits brilliantly into a system, but he'll go and attack it as well.
Yeah, we need more of our players to be proactive. You wonder, does Arteta coach that out of them a little bit? And I just point to Gabriel. It was 2-0. I don't know what minute was that last goal? 90, 91?
Yeah, it was
something
really
like that. Late. But it was Gabriel who we've been doing the kind of sideways crab play around the back.
Horseshoe of death.
Horseshoe, yeah, but we didn't need to. There was no impetus on us, no reason for us to be pushing forward. But Gabriel just pinged a great ball down the left to release. I can't remember, who did he release? Who crossed it?
Martinelli.
And yeah, and it created the goal. It created an opportunity. Nobody expected it probably, and I can imagine Arteta what's he doing? Just keep it. I felt sorry. I wanted him to put the ball out because I wanted the young kid to come on. Because he'd been standing there for 3 minutes at that point, and I thought he can't be standing there. This is going to be his only Arsenal experience, standing on the touchline waiting to come on for 7 minutes, and then the final whistle goes. That kind of is kind of a quiz question from further down in a few years' time, kind of.
In 2034,
yeah,
when we're still doing this podcast,
we'll mark this. Yeah, so we did to be more proactive, and I think Rice is absolutely one of those players that can grab the game by the scruff of his neck. How did you boys think Ødegaard played? And that was a shocking stat. I didn't realise it. That was his first goal from open play in 28 games, and he just about scored it.
Yeah.
How do you think he played overall?
I think he contributed well. Again, given the opposition, he was finding those pockets that we know he does, and I don't think any of them really needed in that final third to really get out of third gear. It just felt like it was a fairly comfortable, run around. So
good for Havertz as well, a goal and an assist.
Yes,
I think that's important.
Good for confidence.
He's our top scorer, 14 goals this season, all competitions. Not too shabby. We still need there's a little segue, isn't it? We still need a striker. What month is it?
Segue to the January transfer window.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Go on then.
Well, I still don't think we'll get anyone. I'm saying that because I'm managing my expectations. I'll be crying like a baby on the 2nd of February at 11 p.m. or whenever it is if we don't sign anyone. However, the rumours are still bubbling away about Cunha and Sesko. I know other teams are getting involved. Just Cunha, Stef, you mentioned it before we came on about Forest lining up a club record bid for Cunha.
60 million.
Yeah, but didn't Wolves pay nearly that for him?
Don't know, actually.
I think it was quite high.
Yeah. Sorry, just to say, I think his name is Adam Keys over on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Is he the Arsenal Therapy podcast or one of those two? He sort of pointed out, he did a post about the fact that actually we may need to pay over the odds. You're going to pay a January tax and all those sorts of things as well, but also we have to. A lot of people are sort of going, well, I'm not sure Cunha's worth that, forgetting that he is a forward and you pay more for forwards anyway. And he had a funny line where he says, we're not used to that because we don't sign them.
Yeah, I saw that.
We're just not.
We're
used
out of
to
practice.
Yeah, exactly.
As a fan base as well. We're linked with a striker. What is this madness? January madness. So is Cunha. No, I see Cunha's position is more of a wide forward. That's my understanding of his position. And Sesko is a number 9. And there are sort of this figure of 67 million is being floated about, and his club are saying no, he's not going anywhere. But they don't shoot it down quite as emphatically as they have been previously. Basically, what club did Marmoush? What club did City sign him from? Was it Frankfurt? And they said exactly the same thing. No, he's not for sale. Well, of course, they're not going to say anything different, are they? And City have paid 75 million plus 5 in add-ons for him and that's 15 million more than they'd have paid in the summer. But they need him, so they've gone for him. But online, Arsenal Twitter seems to be having a bit of a meltdown. It's like, oh, if Cunha stops us from getting Sesko in the summer, and it seems to be like an either or. It's like, well, actually, it's both. We need both because they occupy different areas of the field, and they're both upgrades on what we have in those positions.
You also have to think as well that looking ahead, you might have to take the hit financially, but there will be players that move on and make way to a certain extent as well. Sterling's loan will obviously come to an end, and I can't imagine us going in to buy him. Gabriel Jesus' injury means obviously he'll be lingering around when we get that. But
will Trossard still be here next season?
You do wonder if a Saudi bid comes in or something along those lines. He's 31 now, I think. So that could be an issue. One thing I clocked earlier, because I was watching RB Leipzig play Sporting before our game. Sesko scored for Leipzig and Gyökeres scored for Sporting as well. And it something clicked in my head where I realised that because of this extended Champions League group stage format or league format, the final games next week on the 29th of January. Now, the clubs are obviously going to want to retain their best players in order for them to secure the best position they can in that Champions League format at this early stage. So it may be a case of just holding on to your asset for as long as you can to get the best position you can to set up, whether it's a playoff game or whatever, moving forward. But then you're able to cash in because the commentator said you're able to register players for the knockout stage. So it may be that all this movement comes, all these things, there might be verbal agreements in place. There might be, gentleman's agreement here and there for these sort of players to move. But it's all with a view that it's once this group stage format is over. So could be a big flurry at the end of the thing. Again, this is me in sort of hopeful wish fulfillment mode, possibly. But I did wonder. I mean, Leipzig are kind of out anyway. So it's not like they're necessarily playing for anything in particular. So that kind of shoots down that idea. But Sporting certainly are.
I think the thing for me looking at it, Cunha, Sesko, is which one of them fits in quicker, easier, because we do need someone to come in and hit the ground running. And for me, Sesko coming in is going to take a lot more bedding in and changing of our routine, because he is that kind of, back to goal number 9 that we've kind of craved. But does he dovetail into the current way we play? Can you
imagine what he does to the mood, though?
Sure.
Yeah, but in terms of the brass tacks of the game itself, the mood, great, and the fan base, etc., great. But I do think bedding a player in like that is going to be harder than someone of the Cunha profile who's Prem ready, 25 years old. I think the sticking point is the price.
Okay. Let me ask you a question to your question. So in the short term for this season, right now in January, you'd prefer Cunha over Sesko. But which one of the two would you prefer in the long term? So for me, Sesko would be the one I would. So if it's a choice of getting one of them in January, it's Sesko for me. And I take your point. I agree. I think Cunha could hit the ground running a lot quicker, although he's used to playing for a team that don't have a lot of possession and might play on transition a lot more. So he'll have to get used to a lot less space playing in an Arsenal team than he's used to playing in a Wolves team. So there'll be an adjustment period for him. And we know that Arteta is, his positions aren't the most straightforward. His instructions to the players in every position aren't the most straightforward. We've heard stories of Xhaka and Havertz taking 6 months to acclimatise to the requirements for a particular position under the tutelage of Arteta. So there may be a bedding in period for Cunha also. But look, I get it. I agree. He's Prem ready. But if it's an issue of us just being able to get one of those two players in January, well, for me, it's Sesko. And it's not that I'm writing off the remainder of the season. I'm not. I think that he, he adds not just a momentum, not just a kind of shot in the arm, but he creates competition for places as well. And he just gets everybody up on their toes more. I don't think he would. He might not hit the ground running as much as Cunha, but I don't think he'd be a statue for the kind of mannequin for the next 5 months, and his time really starts after a bedding in period. I don't know. What do you think then, Chris? Then,
like I said, I just feel like it's going to take more adjustment to embed him into the way we play. So the knock-on effect, if you like, of bringing him in and trying to bed him in is going to be greater.
So Cunha in January or Sesko in January. We're not just talking about the next 5 months, because we might not get Sesko.
No,
in the summer.
if you're asking me who I would prefer in January, and regardless of what happens in the summer, then I would take Cunha first. That's just because I think he slots in better to the way we play, and he's more, I think, likely to hit the ground running.
And risk missing out on Sesko in the summer. Who's more important? Who's more integral to our next 4 or 5 seasons? I don't have the answer. I mean, I have a sense. My view is Sesko, but
it's a bit. I think you're comparing two quite different players in that sense. That of course we want both,
but we need both those positions. We need both those positions. So it's like we're going to get a player in each of those positions by the end of the summer transfer window. He says with zero confidence that that's going to be the case, referencing his comment from 3 years ago this week. Steph, what about you then? Like, if you have to get one of them...
Yeah, I can see your point in the sense that it has been that number 9 position, because Havertz has the variety to be able to drop back into midfield and offer a cover in that position. So Sesko would... take the sort of primary role with that. Plus, as well, watching that game between Leipzig and Sporting, comparing, it was interesting seeing him and Gyökeres on the same pitch. Gyökeres is what he is, and I didn't look at him and think, well, you are not really going to be anything different. Both of them scored. Gyökeres' shot should have been saved by the Leipzig keeper. It was a bit of a parry into the top corner that he didn't deal with very well, whereas Sesko, he did that thing. Do you remember against Villa when Miles Lewis-Skelly crossed the ball across the goal and no one sort of gambled? Well, guess what kind of goal Sesko scored? It was the first thing that flashed into my head, going, okay. So, yeah, I can see that. But if we're talking about a kind of quick fix, I can totally see why... Cunha would be the one you'd go for in January, because I'm minded of when we signed Trossard and Jorginho as January signings, because they knew the Premier League already and their contribution to a point as well. Yeah, well, Odegaard had his loan spell as well, hadn't he? So he'd got a bit more familiar with it. So look, if it's only one in January, just for January, it's Cunha. If it's only one full stop, then yeah, I'm probably erring towards Sesko, because I think an out-and-out striker, someone who's just going to dedicate themselves to that role, is probably what we need.
But if you told me that we were prepared to kind of not write off this season, but to kind of say, well, look, let's plan more long-term, then yes, Sesko is a greater investment, I think, for what he is. He's raw. He's going to be more...
He's on a really strong scoring run at the moment. His confidence is up. He didn't start the season particularly well.
Well, Leipzig haven't had a very good season, full stop.
So, he could come into a team like us, creating so many chances, and just do a Haaland. He's more likely to do that than Cunha is. Oh.
But anyway...
I'm swaying them.
We're gonna sign a left back, so it doesn't matter. We'll
or
recall
a keeper.
Fabio
a
Vieira.
Keeper. No, we need a keeper. Okay, right, Steph. It's like you've read my notes on Fabio Vieira. I decided to have a little look into how his season was going, because there were rumours of, because we just know we're going to end up. Our solution is going to be recalling Fabio Vieira. The same article also said that we were considering recalling Reece Nelson, but as far as I'm aware, he's been injured for a while, like a hammy as well.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So Vieira's actually played 11 matches this season. He's had 1 goal, 2 assists and 3 yellow cards. He's not exactly tearing it up. I'm not sure. And again, he's centre to the right, whereas we kind of need that reinforcement there as well, but centred to the left, more so, I would have said, because Ranieri's there for the right-hand side, and I did think Ranieri did particularly well when he came on. Again, I mean, he just looks so good when he gets the ball. It's just brilliant. When he didn't let the ball go out for the corner.
I was just going to say that.
I was like, how did he do that?
I don't even know how he did it.
Yeah.
But then at the other end, he did that thing where, he tracked the runner and then battered the ball out, and all the crowd got up at that point.
And Arteta.
Brilliant.
Arteta will have loved that, because
will have loved that.
Martinelli, for his flaws going forward and head down, he is relentless in his tracking back. He's a machine and he's tracking back. So, okay. Anything else to say about Champions League? One thing I just wanted to check. The transfer deadline day is actually on the deadline is on the 3rd of Feb, Monday the 3rd of Feb. So I hadn't considered what you said, Steph, about the last game on the 29th of January, but that gives them like a good 5 days between that, and
I think there'll be a lot of movement then.
And maybe that's by design.
I do wonder.
Because I've never known it the 3rd of February before, on a Monday as well. Why not? Why wouldn't it be like Friday on the 31st of January?
Josh is over, isn't he? Josh has set up his camp in his little Coney office.
Did you see North Banksy's latest mural under the arches? It's a fan's head with I think it's a fan's head with a speech bubble.
No, it's Santi Cazorla.
What is it? I couldn't see.
From his Rainbow Laces advert, where he's like at the bottom of the shot with Josh Kroenke on a mural, but the speech bubble says, "Spend some money, Josh."
Yeah. So good.
Nice.
Let him listen to it. Good sound and sage advice, that is. Anything else to say on the Champions League or Arsenal tonight?
Just City.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably beat Bruges and all the results will go for them because, but this funny.
Putting that to a nicer club. Imagine they don't qualify. Imagine. I mean, worst case scenario is they're out. Next worst case scenario is they've got an extra 2 games. No harm.
I suspect that's what will happen, yeah.
Right. Back to the trials and tribulations of the Premier League. We're away to Wolves on Saturday, 3:00 kickoff. Interesting narrative, Cunha. I can't remember what their manager said about him, but there were interesting comments about him from the manager after the Chelsea game, wasn't it?
3-1 Chelsea, yeah. Yeah, his head went down and he wasn't the right body language, the usual kind of stuff. That he hasn't signed his extension, and
that's it, yeah. Verbal agreement, but apparently Arsenal have been talking to him before the verbal agreement with the contracts, and Arsenal thought they had a clear run at him and were going to make an offer, and then news broke of this verbal agreement with Wolves, and Arsenal went, hang on a minute, what's that all about? And so Arsenal took a step back. I mean, I don't know if this is true. Arsenal took a step back, and that's why the agent put out then, because it wasn't verbal agreement, it was contracts agreed. And then 2 weeks later, as in last week, it was all of a sudden, just a verbal agreement, but nothing's been signed yet. And then of course, not just Arsenal coming back to the table. United are desperate for a wide player if they can shift Marcus Rashford. I know Garnacho is bizarrely linked away as well.
Anthony,
Anthony's gone to Sevilla, but they won't miss him.
He's gone to Betis.
Betis, was it?
Yeah.
On loan.
They'll not miss him.
On loan, though, yeah.
And I bet they're paying half his wages as well.
Rory Talks did a brilliant video on TikTok about how we all need to agree that Anthony is clearly the worst signing in the Premier League. For the amount they paid and what he's delivered, just no question. I agree.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have a United fan argue that point either.
Dreadful. But the fact that they're thinking about selling Garnacho, apparently Napoli are in, but he would prefer to stay in England, go to Chelsea. But then he's going to fight 15 other wingers.
Let Chelsea. I'd be happy if Chelsea took him.
Yeah. Too many cooks and all that.
Yeah, and all that. Absolutely.
I think it's interesting at Wolves as well because there is it Lamina, their midfielder. He's literally not being picked because he's told the club he wants to leave. So he's in a kind of limbo at the moment as well. So clearly not all is well. and maybe we can prey upon that. But then, like I say, just before we came on, I saw that there were reports of Forest going in as well. Look, Cunha's too good a player to...
I can't imagine them sanctioning that. That would be meltdown amongst their fan base, their rivals, you know.
What, to Forest?
Yeah, they're close by, aren't they, in the Midlands? There's no way they're going to
Not
let
that
go there.
close. No, that's more...
Close in
Listen, from
Birmingham.
us in London, it's all the same up there, isn't it?
No, it isn't. That's nothing. It's nowhere
East
near.
Midlands, West Midlands, what you on about?
Forest, Leicester, yeah. And then after that, it's Wolves, Villa. Like, there's... Yeah. But anyway... Maybe
Yeah,
it's whoever
Chris.
pays the most at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
That told me.
Check your geography out, mate. Come on. Right. Steph, who do you think will play? Starting lineup, starting 11. I don't know who's fit.
I've
We're
got
too early
neither do I.
recording.
So this is
Yeah.
all a factor. I mean, Skelly, it looks like hopefully it's just a knock, but we don't know. Calafiori, Arteta said has only trained for 20 minutes, so he's not going to be fit. Saliba in commentary, they said, is aiming for the Man City game, so chances are he's not going to play, which is why I think he'll stick with a lot of what he did tonight. Timber was able to come off relatively early. Looked okay, but does look a bit leggy. Zinni, he also came off. So I've gone Raya in goal. Back four, Timber, Kivior, Gabriel, Zinchenko. Midfield three of Odegaard, Partey, Rice. And then a front three. I think I'm going... I don't know which side they'll be on, but Martinelli, Havertz, Trossard. Who starts on the right, who starts on the left? Trossard, Martinelli, I don't know. But... you know, interchange, why not? Martinelli looked really good on the left tonight, but then he's also looked okay on the right at times as well. So, I don't know. Will depend probably where the weaknesses are in Wolves.
I have exactly the same team, but I did put a sort of slash against Trossard, and I'd put him on the right / Ethan Nwaneri.
Well,
I'd love to see him get a start.
He won't.
I don't think he
Well,
will, but...
I'm just sort of wish casting, but yeah, I would keep Martinelli on the left simply because he played so well today, just for continuity. I just think it'd be good. And now we've got Zinchenko can start no problem, and
He was okay tonight, I thought.
Yeah, and it's a nice kind of dovetail with Tierney coming on. So if he hasn't got the legs around 70 odd, ideally you'd take him off.
And bring Calafiori on for 20
By
minutes.
which time we're 2-0 up.
No, don't say 2-0. Makes me nervous. 3-0 up. 3-0 up. I've got exactly the same team.
Wow.
Bizarre. So the three of us got the same team.
Is that sort of a damning indictment of where we're at, though?
Well, I like Chris. I'd love him to play Martinelli on the left and Nwaneri on the right. I just don't think. I think what Nwaneri's injury kind of informs is that we need to be mindful of his minutes, and so starting the game, no, not when he's just come back. So give him. Get him on at 60 minutes. I mean, Sterling came off on 57 minutes today. It was quite early. So same again against Wolves. No issue with that at all. And for Nwaneri, and he won't. He'll certainly, if you're doing a like-for-like comparison with Sterling and Nwaneri makes our team better on current form. So it's an improvement as a sub. But having him and having him to come off the bench is good. Especially, he'll be joined by... We haven't talked about Isak.
Dream on.
That's silence. Steph, score prediction.
1-0 to the Arsenal.
What? I'm writing that down because I don't believe I heard it right.
Yeah.
1-0 to the Arsenal.
Yeah.
Okay. You think we'll win?
Wolves' upturn in form hasn't really been there much, and there clearly is some discontent. I don't know. Can I see us keeping a clean sheet? I don't know. We had some dodgy moments tonight, even against Zagreb, and if Zagreb were any better than they were, they might have been able to punish us.
I'll put that down to lack of focus and that it ain't happening again.
What, me predicting 1-0?
Yeah. It was Timber Timber made a mistake, didn't he? And then got himself almost caught up again. And then it was a pass from Gabriel to Kivior that was really difficult to handle, and that got us into trouble as well. But we compensated, we covered for it. It was all right. Chris,
2-0. 2-0. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going 2-1, and I know I get bit mocks for picking 2-1. I think we'll win. The issue is by what margin. I don't know. I thought we played all right. I think there's been parts of every game we've played where our performance has been much improved. We just need that consistency at both ends over a 90-minute period to really put someone to the sword. And that could, again, like tonight, an early goal against Wolves will make a huge difference. Any that's the most logical thing to say, I guess. And it changes the tactics and so on. I don't know how Wolves will come at us. Do you think Wolves will sit deep and
counter? Almost certainly.
Yeah,
that's the blueprint against us. Let alone the fact that that's what they do relatively well as well. Yeah, they've got Strand Larsen up front, who is fine, sort of functional. He's chipped in with a few, but Cunning is their danger man, isn't he?
Are you going?
I am going. 3 o'clock kickoff. Yeah, standing on the away side. They don't have an away end. They have an away side.
Weird, yeah.
It is rubbish.
Yeah.
And it's very clever because it dissipates any kind of atmosphere that you get going. What you end up doing, a bit like at the home games where, one block will sing a bit, but if the other blocks don't take off, it doesn't really go anywhere. Well, that's what you get at the away side at Wolves, where you can hear one bit down there singing, but it doesn't really travel to your end, depending on where you are. So it's all a bit odd. But they're also in front of the exec boxes. So if it gets a little bit sort of spicy and there's people jeering at each other, it can get quite intense.
You winding up the posh?
No,
posh
me?
seats?
No, never.
Okay, well, look, we have to win it. Don't even think about the gap to Liverpool. I don't even know who Liverpool are playing or when they're playing. I haven't
Ipswich,
looked.
I think.
Is it really? Is that?
I think it's Ipswich.
Is it
Anfield?
At Anfield, I think
God.
it is. Yeah, who just got tonked 6-0, wasn't it? So,
by City, who lost a 2-0. Honestly, this season, it's doing a madness.
Right. Well, we have to win. I don't care about what Liverpool do. We win this game, and then we can kind of wind down to the end of the transfer window and see what we get. And you never know. It's 16 games to go. The league's not done. I think it is if we don't bring anyone in, but we'll see. We're all doom and gloom writing the season off, and we're about to qualify for the knockout stage of the Champions League, and we're second in the Premier League. I mean, for God's sake, we need to get a grip. And
we're still technically in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup.
I keep forgetting that, and Newcastle did get turned over 4-1 by Bournemouth at the weekend, and no disrespect to Bournemouth, but we are a slightly better team than Bournemouth.
There'll be fans in the comments saying, well, you lost to Bournemouth. So not really.
We also lost to United. Are we a worse team than United?
Hell no.
Doesn't work like that, does it?
Doesn't.
Come on.
No. All right, okay. Anyway, listen. Cheers for the chat. Cheers for watching, listening, whichever you did. And have a great week. And we'll see you after the Wolves game at some point. Cheerio. Thank you very much. Bye.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at NorthBankPod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.